In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Hello friends, I'm here with the final part of the 3dvista software tutorial for you. In this section, we continue from where we left off in the previous part, shell design, and I'll go over related topics for you. The main topic of our discussion today is designing a virtual tour in 2 or more different languages. But first, let me review the virtual tour we created in the previous session together. Let's see if what we uploaded to the website is working correctly or not, so that we can continue working on it and provide the necessary explanations for you. First, let's go and on the mobile browser type in our address and the directory we created. See how our mobile theme is displayed on the phone, and then we come back. We will then proceed to view it together within the desktop theme. Alright, let's go to our browser and type the address of the location where we uploaded our tour into the browser's address bar. We load the directory. You can see the tour. The loading page and the items we had set up have loaded, and when the tour comes up, we see that our contact info or gallery info is showing. We need to go into the mobile theme and hide this because the last time I explained this, I probably forgot to hide it again. So let's go there first. Let's see if this call button we added actually works or not. By pressing it, let's check if a call is initiated or not. As we can see, yes, the number we set appears on the screen and we can call it. Well, I hadn't pressed the plus sign for this number. Let's close the page and see if the other items are working. Take a pen and paper and note down any issues you see so that we can go into the virtual tour and fix them. We test each of these icons one by one and see that they work. Unfortunately, the panorama list doesn't work. We need to go and fix these, set its action. The location works, but its alignment isn't good and we can't see the map properly. We need to go and change its dimensions so it displays better. The same goes for the floor plan. It works, as does the photo album. In the same way, we need to check our tour to see if it's working correctly or not, so that we can fix its issues and finally deliver the final version to the client. Next, let's move on to the desktop version to see how it looks on desktop. Check to see whether that panorama list also doesn't work on desktop. Alright, we've seen the mobile layout, we've noted its issues, and now we're moving on to the desktop layout. We carefully type the complete address where we have successfully uploaded the content directly into the designated address bar. It is important to note that it truly does not matter whether we include the specific index HTML extension or not. It ultimately makes absolutely no discernible difference. In both cases, what we're actually calling is this, it's the index HTML file. But even if you don't write this part, our virtual tour will still load. Alright, I'm refreshing the page. Take a look at how the loading page appears. Since it's already been loaded once, it'll load quickly the next time. Now, the issue that existed in the mobile theme was with the panorama list. Yes, the problem is that in the panorama list section, we've set a hover effect. The hover state of this list appears. However, in the mobile theme, we specifically need to go and meticulously fix this particular issue and then subsequently set it to properly work on a deliberate click instead. So let us also thoroughly check all of the other available options as well. Let's see the photo album does ETS. The next option. Alright, in this section, the next option doesn't work. We need to go and fix this. The previous option works, but the next option, yes, it hadn't loaded. Now both of them are working. As you can see, the only thing we need to do is set this photo album to loop mode. Adjust its settings so it plays continuously. You can see that in this way, the changes become apparent. That means we need to note these down one by one so we can figure out where else needs to be fixed. Location. This one works correctly too. Gallery information and all the relevant links we've carefully included within it. By thoughtfully clicking on these provided links, let's thoroughly check and see if they function properly or not. See whether it wants to connect via mobile or make a call through Skype. It means that it's working correctly. Only this icon hasn't loaded yet. Yes, the Instagram icon has appeared again, just like that. So let's move on to our tour. First, we set the photo album to loop mode by checking the loop option so that when we keep clicking next, the photos repeat one after another. And then we go to the mobile skin screen for contact. Sorry, not contact. It was our contact show, which I had set to unshow. I had hyped it up, and now I go into the panorama list and change its action from on. In this section, I change it from on rollover to on click, and then I save it, just like that. Now, a very important point that I forgot to mention in the previous session is that we absolutely need to save this tour. Although the 3dvista software automatically saves the changes on its own, because we keep previewing, it actually saves this previewed file somewhere so it can display them. And if you hit save or press Ctrl+S, the software continuously saves them and keeps them in the history. But it's better if we save our project with the specific name. For example, I name it test and save it in the folder where I define my project. So I have a separate save and can load my files from there. All right. Now I'll move on to the topic of changing the language. I want to write the title of this virtual tour that I have meticulously created in English as well, especially since this particular menu is already presented entirely in English. I'll write the title in English too, so that everything is in English and you can later translate it into Persian. That way we'll have it in both English and Persian. Let's take a look at the title or heading. Currently, the title of our tour is also in English. We go to the Publish tab, to the Language section, and add a second language. From this language section, we look for and find Persian, country, Iran. We click the down button to add our second language. You've really made things much easier in this section. The software lists all the content that can be translated here for us, and we can go through them one by one, find them and translate them. For example, in the tour section, in the description section, well, we haven't entered any information here. If we here in publish, went to the playlist section and clicked on description, for example, with education also brings us a comprehensive description with accompanying audio in the original language, which we can easily write and accurately transcribe in Persian by simply clicking on the dedicated Persian option within this specific section. This is an essential part of our virtual tour training program, for example, and we close it. We are leaving. In the title section, Art Gallery, we write Photo Gallery. It's that simple. In the theme section, we can translate the buttons one by one. Logo off means it is off. Logo on. This part, logo on, means on. Logo off truly means it is off. Again, this is logo on because there are two C. One is forward, so here too it was removed. We need to write this logo off. Logo off. I press the tab button and it was deleted. Off. The reason there are two is that one is for the mobile theme and one is for the desktop theme. Photo album, image album, I write images. Both for mobile devices and also for PC. And so on. There's also a very useful lorem ipsum button. You see, this lorem ipsum text is actually the standard default placeholder text that's quite common in most design and publishing places, and especially prevalent within the printing industry. And it's used when something needs to be written in a section and the person who's designing it is supposed to change it. At first they put lorem ipsum in there so that later we can change it, and that's exactly what I'm translating. Lorem ipsum, and then you can copy and paste it. Pay attention to ipsum down here with these two options, export and import. I can export the content file, the text that's there, then take it to translate, and after that I can import the translated file back here. But that's not necessary because it's also very easy to do everything right here, and I can handle it all from here. I was in the skin section. Let me close this. So in the skin section I translated the button. For the multi-line text, you can see that all the content that was there in the description, in the contract, and actually in the location section, all the content that was there, I can translate it all into Persian right here, and then I can present it in 2 languages. In the media section, for the subtitles, at first I had written the titles in Persian, and here I go and correct them in English. Two, 3 is quite enough. I can translate the titles of the panoramas, but I won't go into those anymore. Also, if there are any actions or URLs, if they need to be translated, which usually isn't necessary. In this way, I can translate all the content that needs translation right here. And now I have the virtual tour in another language. However, I still need to be able to present it in 2 languages. To do this, I go into the skin section and design a button for it. A button for switching languages. So I go to the icon section. Since my default language is English, I select an English button for it. I place it here. Let's leave it large like this. I could make it smaller, but I want it to stay big like this. I go into its style edit and set the rollover color to red. Look, I had already prepared the red button. I set the press state to Farsi because I wanted to switch to Farsi when pressed, and for the rollover press state I'll also set it to red Farsi. So it goes like this: black, English, black, red, English, black, Farsi, red, Farsi. That's it for its style. Now the button itself needs to be of the toggle type because its state is supposed to change. What should its action be? It should change our language. So when it's set to English, I want it to switch the language to Farsi. That is, on click I want it to change to Farsi. Let's run it like this to see if our button works or not. Okay, when we click it, it switches to Farsi. Yes, you can see that this menu down here has turned to Farsi. If we click it again, it switches back to English, but the lower menu doesn't switch to English. Let's go back. We also need to set this action to toggle type. Let's see if it has a toggle option. All right. Let's try yet another action now. Let's set it to language mode like this and see if it toggles for us or not. Let's not select its language and just set it to on click. Let's preview it and see if it works for us this way or not. It switched to Farsi. The language didn't change, so we're forced to create 2 separate buttons. We'll go ahead and delete this button entirely so that everything we created with it gets removed. Now let's create a new button. From this section we'll create the English button, and then you can proceed to set its visual style to the rollover mode, which allows for interactive changes upon mouse interaction. Set it to red, and we won't deal with the rest. What should its action be? It should change the language to Farsi and also hide itself. Add the hide action. It should hide its own icon button, so it's better to name it EN. Let's add the next button. We carefully place a distinct black Farsi button precisely on this specific location, and then proceed to meticulously edit its visual style. It is essential that this button should dynamically and prominently turn a vibrant red color upon a user's mouse rollover action. We also select its action. It should switch the language to English and hide itself. We should also name it appropriately in the Farsi language. So this English button switches the language to Farsi. It effectively hides itself from view and then seamlessly switches the Farsi language button to English. Subsequently, it once again conceals itself completely. But when it completely hides itself from view, it should then clearly show the other corresponding button specifically. It should indicate the English one as being in a distinctly down position, and additionally, the English button itself should be prominently displayed and visible to the user. It got a bit complicated. The Farsi button should be hidden from the very beginning. Let's see if it works correctly or not. Okay, the English language. I click it. This part becomes Farsi, and this part also switched to Farsi. I click it, and it switches to English. So, as we saw, it works. But in the panorama section, in the hotspot section, sometimes in our panoramas we used to add some text descriptions. For example, here I can write something inside this text. I will place the text here and then set its content right here. This is art number 1 and it is work number 1. But the textual content that is added as a hotspot text inside the panoramas does not change with the language switch in the language section, as you can see. In this language section, nothing appears here in the panoramas. That means the text content inside the panoramas doesn't show up here for us to translate. So we have to translate those right there. What should we do? Well, it's enough to go to the panorama section exactly based on the text we've created. Let's make a Persian version for it as well. I'll just do a copy paste right here. I'll write the translation of the second text here, work number 1. Alright. I'll also change its font style so that it doesn't get messed up. I'll write it again. Work number 1. Well, if this software has an issue, we can use Shift+X. If you see that it's not typing correctly, you can use Shift+X. Alright, now I'll hide this, but in order to make it so that when the English one is shown, the Persian one is hidden and vice versa, we can use tags. For the English hotspots, we define a tag named on. This spot was in Persian, sorry. Again, in this particular section, we are going to create a new tag, which is specifically named N. We add it. For the Persian hotspots, we also add an AFA tag. Now we have 2 tabs. We have 2 tags. One is for the English hotspots, which is shown in blue. The other is for the Persian hotspots. Alright. Now we go to the screen section. And where the N button should be shown, we bring in some components and add an action for it again. Show hide hotspot, and in this section we filter it by tag. We state that when the N button is specifically pressed, indicating a user's deliberate action or a system event, all the Persian tags should be clearly and immediately shown, making them visible and accessible to the user. Simultaneously, and as a direct consequence of this particular action, all the hotspots that are specifically identified with the N tag should be completely and effectively hidden from view, thereby removing them from the current display to streamline the visual presentation. And when the dedicated Persian language button is precisely pressed, All of the interactive hotspots that are specifically associated with the Persian tag should be completely hidden from view, and conversely, all of the interactive hotspots that are clearly marked with the English tag should be prominently shown. Let's now carefully preview it in this manner and observe the immediate results. Does this part work or not? Okay, our language is English. The title of the work is in English. When our language switches to Persian, the title of the work becomes Persian, and the other sections also switch to Persian. Just like that, we were able to create a virtual tour with 2 languages, and we can provide this for multiple languages as well. Alright, this topic ends here. Again, I come back, and for this comprehensive virtual tour that I meticulously created, I will then proceed to delete all of the previous files that were residing in the published folder. Following that, I will carefully save the updated version of the tour once more, and then confidently go ahead and publish it to its intended destination. There's also an important point I want to mention here. Let me publish this first. So my output content is generated, and then I'll explain. Again, I will now open my file transfer protocol FTP client to meticulously upload the various files and content I have recently created directly to my personal website. And that's important point is that, you see, I no longer need to re-upload all the content I've created to my website via FTP. And this used to matter when your virtual tour is very large. Sometimes the virtual tour files can be as large as 4 or 5 gigabytes. And every time you want to upload 4 to 5 gigabytes of files to your website, it takes a lot of your time. Therefore, when you update the website, the main files that get updated are these ones. You select all these files that are outside, of course. Their size is always very small and usually doesn't even reach 1 megabyte. Then you drag and drop them into your FileZilla and upload them. It asks, should I overwrite? Yes, we want to overwrite our previous files. Well, after that, whatever has changed during the translation is in the local folder. That means the files we translated, these 2 files, in fact, new Persian files were created. So these 2 have also changed. It's better to take these 2 as well, go into the software, put them in the local folder, and overwrite the previous files with them too. Another thing we added to the theme is 2 icons, one for English and one for Persian. So in the theme folder, you can see these 2 icons and 2 icons for Persian look, these ones. Just select these and the newly added ones and upload them to the same folder on the website, meaning the screen folder. Alright, now let's also check the font. Maybe we've created a new font that wasn't in the previous version. So since the fonts aren't large in size, we select all of them and override the previous fonts again. Just like this, and we proceed. We refresh the file we previously loaded in the browser so we can see the changes we've made here. Let's see online whether it shows up for us or not. The changes might take a little time to appear on the first load. Well, as you can see, the loading indicator stayed in this section. I wish I had set this as a click action. Every time I move the mouse over it, it hovers and opens this up. See, the loading indicator stayed in this part. What does that mean? It means there are a few elements in the tour that still haven't loaded. Alright, and we know what those are. We had put a title here, which is now missing. Where do those titles go? I'll explain that to you right now. The titles that we define as hotspots all end up in the media folder, and that's where we go to look for them. Look, these were the 2. Effect number 1 and art number 1. We click on these 2 and select them. Then we drag them into the media folder. So first we need to open the media folder and then bring those items in and drag and drop them here like this. Now if we go and check again, okay, it appeared automatically, as you can see. Now if we change the language to Persian, the tour's language also becomes Persian, and vice versa. So in this way we have successfully created a virtual tour like this. Thank you for staying with me up to this point. Dear friends, for now, take care and goodbye.